The mistake that changed everything. Talon wiped the sweat from his forehead as he walked through the noisy alien market. The air smelled like oil, spices, and something burning. Crowds pushed past him, aliens with long arms, glowing eyes, and strange skin colors. But Talon didn't care about any of that. He was here for machine parts, cheap old ones. His small repair shop back on Earth's colony station was falling apart. He needed parts fast. A war had destroyed the main supply line, and prices had gone up everywhere. But in this alien city called Vorin 9, you could still find good tech if you looked hard and kept your mouth shut. Talon stopped in front of a shady stall. The seller, a gray-skinned alien with sharp teeth, gave him a fake smile. "You want power cores? Old AI modules?" the seller hissed. "I give you deal. Special deal. Only for human." Talon looked at the messy pile of parts. Most were junk, but then something shiny caught his eye. A smooth black capsule lay in the corner, half covered in a cloth. It hummed very softly, as if still powered. "What's that?" Talon asked, pointing. The alien's eyes narrowed. "Ah, storage pod. Old, very old. I give you for cheap. 100 creds. Talon raised an eyebrow. "Looks newer than the rest of your junk." "Want it or not?" the seller snapped. 100. Take it now. No questions. Talon knew something was off, but he needed a backup, power core badly, and this pod might contain one. He hesitated, then handed over the credits. The alien pushed the capsule toward him quickly, almost nervously. "You buy, you take, no return." Before Talon could reply, the seller disappeared into the crowd. Just vanished. Talon sighed and dragged the capsule away, annoyed but curious. Once he reached a quiet corner, he activated the pod's release switch. Hiss! The pod opened slowly. Talon took a step back. Inside was a girl, an alien girl. She was curled up, covered in dirt and bruises. A metal collar was around her neck. Her skin was a soft lavender, her hair silver like moonlight, and her body trembling. Her glowing purple eyes opened. She looked straight at Talon. Then she whispered, in a broken voice, "Husband." Talon froze. "What?" The girl crawled out of the pod slowly, weakly. She knelt at his feet and bowed her head. "You bought me," she said. "Now, I am yours." "No, no, no," Talon said, taking a step back. "I didn't buy you. I thought it was tech. A machine." But she didn't seem to hear him. She grabbed his boots gently and said again, "Husband." People in the market had started to notice. A few aliens stopped and stared. Some whispered. Talon felt the weight of their eyes. He pulled the girl up. "Listen, I don't own people. You're not mine." She looked at him with wide, confused eyes. "You freed me, but in my culture, if someone frees a bonded female, she becomes his." Talon's heart sank. This wasn't just a language problem. This was deep, cultural. A guard nearby began walking toward them. Talon didn't wait. He picked the girl up. She was light, and ran. He didn't stop until he reached his small transport ship. He locked the door behind him and set her down on the passenger seat. She didn't resist. She just sat quietly, watching him with calm eyes. Talon sat across from her, breathing hard. "This is a mistake," he said. "I didn't mean to buy you." "I know," she said softly. "But I don't care. You didn't hurt me. You didn't leave me. You pulled me out." Talon looked at the collar around her neck. A small light on it blinked. Tracking signal. He cursed under his breath. Someone could be looking for her. Someone dangerous. "What's your name?" he asked. "Zuri," she said, touching her chest, lightly. "And yours?" "Husband?" Talon closed his eyes and sighed. He didn't know what just happened. But somehow, this girl believed she now belonged to him. And worse? The moment he looked into her eyes, a small part of him didn't want to let her go. She doesn't understand freedom. The next morning, Talon woke up to the smell of something burning. His heart jumped. He rushed out of bed, barefoot, shirt half on, and sprinted to the small kitchen area of his ship. There she was, Zuri, wearing his oversized work shirt, sleeves dragging on the floor, and staring proudly at a sizzling black lump in the pan. "I made you morning food, husband," she said with a glowing smile. Talon looked at the burned mess. Eggs, maybe? Or protein sticks? Hard to tell. The counter was covered in spilled spice powder, cracked shells, and flour. A spoon stuck to the ceiling. "I watched cooking videos all night," she said proudly. "This is called burnt surprise. The surprise is, it's still food." Talon blinked, then laughed just once before sighing. "Zuri, you didn't have to do all this." She tilted her head. "But I do. I belong to you now. I must serve you. I saw in the human videos." He shook his head. "You're not mine, Zuri. I don't want a servant. I never did." Her smile faded. She looked confused. "But I don't understand," she said quietly. "You freed me. That means I serve you. Forever. That's the law of my people." Talon sat down and rubbed his eyes. "Your people's laws don't apply here. You're free now, Zuri. You can live your own life." She stared at him for a long moment, then picked up the burned food with her hands and dropped it in front of him like an offering. "Then, let my life be near yours." For the next 2 days, Zuri followed him everywhere. She sat on the ship's floor while he repaired old engines. She asked 100 questions about every tool. She tried helping, but usually made things worse. Welding, things that didn't need welding, dropping bolts into vents, or fixing his coffee machine by hitting it with a wrench. She even insisted on guarding his door while he slept. "You don't have to do that," Talon said one night. "But you don't know who might try to steal me," she said softly. Talon looked into her eyes. There was fear there, still hiding behind her strange smile. Later that week, Talon finally contacted the local human embassy. He explained everything: the market, the pod, the collar, the mistaken purchase. He expected them to help, but the reply came cold and short. No law was broken. The item was registered as abandoned property. No claim was filed. You may keep it or dispose of it as you wish. Talon stared at the message in disbelief. She wasn't a person in their system, just discarded property. That night, while Zuri slept curled up like a cat on the floor near his workbench, Talon examined the collar around her neck. It blinked slowly, still active. He grabbed his tools. It took hours, but finally, with a soft click, the collar opened and fell off. Zuri's eyes snapped open. She sat up fast, hands trembling, and stared at the broken collar in his hands. "You removed it?" she whispered. "Yes," Talon said gently. "You're not anyone's property anymore. Not even mine." She touched her bare neck like it was the first time she'd felt it in years. Then, without warning, she cried, not soft tears, deep shaking sobs. Talon didn't know what to do. He sat beside her awkwardly. "Are you okay?" "I've never felt this light," she whispered. "The collar. I wore it since I was a child." He stayed with her through the night, sitting on the cold metal floor while she leaned against him and cried quietly into his shoulder. For the first time, she wasn't acting like his servant. She was just Zuri. The next day, things changed. Zuri smiled more. She asked to learn his language better, not to serve him, but to understand him. She stopped calling him husband every 5 seconds, and instead began saying his name. Talon. But peace never lasts long. That night, as Talon worked under his ship's engine, he noticed something odd on his screen. A red blinking light. The tracker in Zuri's collar was still sending a final signal before it died. And someone had received. Someone was coming. The bond began. Zuri didn't understand why Talon stayed up late every night, alone. She sat in the hallway just outside the engine room, hugging her knees, silently listening to the sound of his tools. Clink, clack, buzz. She didn't knock. She didn't speak. She just waited. At first it was because she thought it was her duty, but now, she just wanted to be close. Inside the engine room, Talon was sweating under the weight of the ship's core panel. His hands were black, with oil. His mind wasn't focused. He kept thinking about the signal. Someone out there had tracked her, and they weren't coming to negotiate. He wiped his face with a dirty rag and sighed. "I can't keep running," he muttered. "I need answers." The door hissed open behind him. Zuri peeked inside holding 2 steaming cups, one in each hand. "I made tea," she said gently. Talon blinked. "You didn't set anything on fire?" She smiled shyly. "Only 1 cup. This is cup 2. He laughed. Just a little and took the tea. It was strong and bitter, but not terrible. Zuri sat beside him on the floor. Silence passed between them, but not an awkward one. She looked at his bandaged hand and asked softly, "Does it still hurt?" "Not really," he said. "I've had worse." She hesitated, then gently placed her hand on his. "I wish I could take your pain," she said. Talon looked at her. For the first time, really looked. She wasn't just an alien girl anymore. Not just someone who'd fallen into his life. She was scared, kind, brave, and for some strange reason, she trusted him more than anyone else in the universe. Later that night, Talon searched the ship's database and translated the markings on her collar. What he found shocked him. Her species, Velari, bonded differently. There was no wedding, no papers, no ceremony. If a Velari female was rescued from captivity, she would emotionally imprint on the first living being who treated her with kindness. It was a survival instinct built into their DNA, and once the imprint began, it couldn't be reversed. He stared at the screen in silence. He thought about how she'd cleaned his messes, guarded his door, cried when he freed her, and now brought him tea without being asked. She didn't love him like a romance novel. She loved him like a creature that had known nothing but pain, and finally felt safe. The next morning, Talon woke to a strange sound. Zuri was in the engine room again, but this time, she wasn't just watching. She had taken apart his broken power stabilizer and was putting it back together. Correctly. How? "Do you know what you're doing?" Talon asked, surprised. She didn't look up. "I watched you every day and I remember." The device hummed softly. "Fixed." Talon stared in disbelief. "You're actually learning?" She stood and smiled. "You are worth learning for." That afternoon they sat side by side on the cargo ramp, eating from metal bowls. The sky of 4 and 9 was green and gold with twin suns overhead. "Can I ask you something?" Talon said. Zuri nodded. If you could go wherever you wanted, would you still stay here?" Zuri looked at the stars above them. Then, at him. "I don't stay because I have to," she said softly. "I stay because I want to." She reached into her pocket and took out a small broken charm, a piece of her old collar. "I keep this," she said, "to remember what I was." She placed it in his hand. "And you, to remind me who I am now." Talon didn't know what to say, so he just closed his fingers around the charm and didn't let go. But peace never lasts forever. That night, the ship's warning system beeped. An unidentified vessel had entered orbit. It didn't respond to hails. It didn't flash lights. It simply hovered above, watching, waiting. Zuri's hands began to shake. She knew who it was. "They've found me," she whispered. Talon stood behind her. He didn't look scared, just ready. Then let them try. Trouble arrives. The stars looked peaceful, too peaceful. Zuri stood on top of the ship's roof, her silver hair glowing under Vorin 9's twin moons. Her eyes were locked on the dark dot in the sky, small but growing. "It's not just a ship," she whispered. It's a hunter. Inside, Talon checked the radar screen again. No identification. No signal. No friendly code. Just a silent ship, drifting closer like a shadow with teeth. By morning it landed. A black vessel shaped like a blade settled on the hill behind the old scrapyard. No doors opened. No soldiers rushed out. Just one figure stepped into the sand. A tall alien, thin, armored in dark red plates with glowing orange eyes. He didn't speak. He didn't knock. He simply walked toward Talon's ship. Talon stood at the top of the ramp, his tool in one hand, a stun blade in the other. It hummed softly, warning but not threatening. State your business, Talon said calmly. The alien stopped 10 feet away. I am reclaiming property, the stranger said. The girl belongs to the House of Kravith. You will give her to me. Now. Zuri stepped beside Talon. I don't belong to anyone anymore, she said, her voice trembling but clear. The bounty hunter turned to her and tilted his head. Valari should not speak without permission. Talon stepped forward. Try touching her, see what happens. The bounty hunter's eyes glowed brighter. You think you can protect her, human? No, Talon said. I know I can. The fight was fast. Talon's blade clashed with the alien's spear. Sparks flew. The metal ramp cracked under the force of the blows. Talon ducked, rolled, and struck, but the hunter was stronger, faster, and trained for capture. Talon bled. But he didn't fall. Then, just as the bounty hunter knocked Talon down and raised his weapon, Zuri screamed. The air around her shimmered. Her body glowed with violet light. Her eyes burned with rage, and something ancient inside her woke up. She flew at the hunter like lightning. She didn't use weapons. She didn't need to. Her hands glowed as she struck his armor, and it shattered like glass. She spun, kicked, and knocked the alien to the ground with a force that shook the sand. The hunter tried to rise, but she placed her hand on his chest, and the glow from her skin spread into his armor like fire. He screamed, and then passed out. Cold, Talon sat up, coughing. What was that? Zuri looked down at her glowing hands, her breathing heavy. Valari aren't just made to serve. We were also made to protect, the ones we bond to. She turned to Talon. You're my bond. I will always protect you. Talon stared at her, not in fear, but in wonder. She helped him up gently. Didn't know you could fight like that, he said. I didn't either, she whispered. They dragged the unconscious bounty hunter into the cargo hold and locked him in a force cage. Talon patched up his wounds while Zuri stood watch. I don't think he'll be the last, Talon said. I know, Zuri replied. But I'm not afraid anymore. Later, as they sat in silence beside the ship, Zuri took Talon's hand. You were willing to bleed for me, she said softly. I didn't plan to, Talon replied. Guess I'm not good at planning. Zuri smiled. I think you're better at protecting than you know. They looked up at the stars again. But this time, Zuri wasn't afraid of what might come from them. Because now, she had someone who stood between her and the darkness. And she would do the same. Secrets of her blood. The bounty hunter was silent, tied inside a force cage. He hadn't spoken in hours, but he stared at Zuri like she was a creature that should not exist. Talon noticed the fear in the alien's eyes, not for himself, but for her. That's when Talon knew. There was something about Zuri they weren't telling him. Outside the ship, the sky turned stormy green. Voron 9's weather was wild. One moment calm, the next filled with lightning without rain. Zuri stood, alone in the wind. Her hair danced like silver threads in the air. Her hands were clenched. She wasn't admiring the view. She was remembering. You never told me what they really did to you, Talon said gently, walking up behind her. Zuri didn't turn around. Her voice was soft. Because I didn't remember. Not until I used the light. The light? She looked at him now. Her eyes glowed faintly again. That power, it's not normal. Not even for my kind. Talon waited, She continued, I was part of a hidden program, the House of Kraveth. They bred us in secret, mixed our blood with other species, made us into something else. Why? Zuri's jaw tightened. To create the perfect companion. Beautiful, obedient, deadly, if needed. Talon's stomach twisted. So you were made in a lab? Zuri nodded. But I was a mistake. Too unstable, too emotional. I cried when my sister was taken. They said I was defective, so they locked me in a pod and sold me cheap. Talon felt like he couldn't breathe. Not from fear, from rage. Back inside, the bounty hunter finally spoke. You don't know what she is, he hissed at Talon. She's not just a girl. She's a weapon in disguise. Talon stepped closer, to the cage. She's more human than you'll ever be. The hunter laughed bitterly. Her blood can command entire systems. She can destroy minds if she grows too strong. That bond she made with you? It's ancient tech merged with instinct. Once it fully activates, she'll fight anyone who threatens you. Anyone. Even herself. Talon turned away, but the words stuck in his mind. Even herself. That night, Talon found Zuri staring at her reflection in a cracked mirror. Her hands glowed faintly. She was trying to stop it, and failing. I can feel it growing, she said. The more time I spend with you, the stronger the bond becomes. The light responds to my heart, and my heart, it's full of you. Talon walked over and took her glowing hand in his. I don't care what's in your blood, he said. What they made you for. You're not a weapon. You're not a mistake. He touched her cheek gently. You're Zuri, and you're mine, because you choose to be, not because they told you to. Her glow pulsed brighter for a second, then faded. For the first time, she smiled without sadness, but far away in the heart of a massive palace on a different planet, someone else had noticed. A figure stood before a giant screen, Zuri's image flickering across it. The lost prototype. Has awakened, the voice said. A second voice replied. Should we retrieve her? No, the first voice said slowly. Let her grow. Let the bond reach full power. Then, we collect them both. Back on Voron 9, Talon and Zuri sat beneath the stars again, unaware of the darkness gathering above them. But even as storms formed in space, something brighter was forming in their hearts. A love not made in labs, not born in fear, but shaped through trust and forged in freedom. The marriage that was never meant to be. The arena was shaped like a crown, tall golden pillars, glass walls, and a sky dome open to the stars. Talon stood in the center, heartbeat pounding like war drums. All. Around him, alien nobles watched from velvet chairs, whispering behind jeweled masks. Every eye was on the human with a Valari bond, a bond that had shaken the upper castes. Across from him stood a tall, silver-skinned alien lord. His robes sparkled like starlight. His name was Lord Chiron of Kraveth. And beside the lord, in golden chains, Zuri. 3 hours earlier, Talon had walked straight into the alien embassy to demand protection for Zuri. Instead, he was ambushed. Dozens of guards, blinding lights, energy cuffs. Talon fought until his knuckles bled. But and they took her and left him with a cruel choice. If you believe she is yours, Lord Chiron had said, prove it. In our court, under ancient law, Talon spat on the floor. Name it. Now, in the arena, the law was simple. Fight a trial of worth. Win, and she is yours. Lose, and she becomes royal property once more. No weapons, no help. Just Talon, and whatever trial the High Caste chose. A booming voice filled the arena. Trial 1. Endurance. Suddenly, the floor under Talon shifted. Fire. Pillars burst into flames around him. Heat hit his face like a furnace. He had to stand in place, unmoving, until the fire died. For 10 minutes, the fire roared. Talon's skin blistered, his boots melted. The crowd leaned forward, expecting him to collapse. Zuri screamed his name from her seat. "Please stop, don't do this for me." But Talon didn't move. Because this wasn't just about her anymore. It was about choosing her back, as fiercely as she had chosen him. The fire died. He remained standing. Smoke rose from his burns. His voice cracked as he looked at the lords. Next, Trial 2 was a test of mind. Answer 3 riddles in an alien tongue. Zuri, tears in her eyes, whispered translations from across the arena. Talon answered each riddle slowly, painfully, but correctly. The nobles shifted in their seats. They had expected a broken pet. Instead, they saw a man who bled for love. Trial 3, Truth of Heart. Talon was injected with a truth serum by a royal priest. He was asked a simple question. "Do you see her as your equal?" He looked directly at Zuri and answered without blinking. "No," gasps. Even Zuri looked shocked. Talon continued, struggling through the serum's grip. "I don't see her as my equal, because she's better than me, stronger, kinder, wiser. I only hope one day I become worthy of her bond." Silence. Then slowly, a ripple of stunned respect through the arena. Even Lord Charon frowned. The council gathered. Whispers rose. Finally, a decision. The elder lord stood and raised his hand. By ancient law, the bond is honored. She is his. Let no house touch her again. The chains around Zuri fell with a clang. She ran to him, wrapped her arms around his broken body and whispered into his chest, "You won." Talon, barely conscious, smiled. "Of course I did. You're the prize." That night, the two sat alone on the embassy rooftop, sharing food under the stars. Zuri placed her hand over his heart. "In my world," she said softly, "the bond is our marriage. There's no ceremony, just choice." Repeated again and again. She looked at him. "Would you still choose me, now that you know everything?" Talon didn't even hesitate. "Every time." And she leaned into him, forehead to forehead, eyes glowing. But somewhere in the shadows of the palace, a cloaked figure reported into a communicator. "The bond is complete. Begin phase 2. The girl who chose him. The stars were falling. Not meteors, not fire, ships, warships. Zuri watched from the edge of the skyport tower as shadows filled Voron 9's sky. Her heart sank. They had come. Not for her. For both of them. Inside the ship, Talon loaded the last power core. His wounds from the arena hadn't fully healed, but he moved with purpose. "Engines online," he muttered, voice tight, "shields low. We can't outrun them." Zuri stepped in. "Then we don't run." Talon turned, eyebrows raised. "We face them together," she said. "But they'll kill you first," he snapped. "They want the blood in your veins." Zuri stepped closer, touched his chest. "And I want the man who saw me as more than that." As the first enemy ship landed near the scrapyard, a voice echoed across the sky in a dozen alien languages. "You have something that belongs to the house of Kravith. Surrender her and we will spare the human." Talon looked at Zuri. Zuri looked at Talon. Then she did something unexpected. She walked out into the open, alone. "I'm here," she shouted, arms raised. "But I'm not property. I am Zuri of the Valari." The armored soldier stepped forward. Talon clenched his fists, ready to leap out and fight. But Zuri raised a glowing hand, and the wind began to shift. The glow from her body was different this time. Not just power, control. She had finally accepted the light inside her, and now it obeyed her, not her fear. The ground shook, the sky pulsed, and every ship's system, enemy or not, sputtered and died. Inside the ships, red alerts screamed. "Bio-link disruption. Power drain from atmospheric surge. Target is broadcasting a genetic signal. Shutdown protocol triggered." The soldiers froze, caught in confusion and terror. Zuri walked forward like a goddess from forgotten legends. "Come any closer," she said, "and I'll shut down your hearts too." Talon stepped beside her. You didn't have to do this alone. She smiled, still glowing. I didn't. You just gave me the strength to believe I could. Together, they walked into the center of the circle of enemies, unarmed, and no one dared to touch them. The High Command finally pulled back, ships retreating to orbit. No shots were fired, because everyone watching knew the truth now. Zuri was not a thing to be owned. She was something else entirely. 2 days later, the Union of Planets officially registered her status. Zuri Valari, free citizen, protected. Partner of Terran National Talon Haynes, no longer a biological asset. Talon stared at the paper. So, that makes you legal now? Zuri smirked. It's funny, they gave me papers after I freed myself. That evening, Talon lit a small lantern on the top of the ship. He had seen the ritual in a Valari journal. One flame meant new life. Zuri stood beside him barefoot, holding the broken piece of her old collar. Without a word, she tossed the metal into the fire. Then she whispered, Do you still choose me? Talon turned, gently placing his forehead against hers. Forever. She smiled. Then in my culture, we are now truly married. The ship took off into the stars, leaving Voron 9 behind. Zuri and Talon sat together in the cockpit, her hand in his arm around her. She looked out at the stars and said softly, I used to dream of someone rescuing me. Talon glanced at her. And now? I don't dream anymore, she whispered, because I have everything I hoped for.